Sup, folks? Welcome back, and it's time for part 2 of my tier list, this time for Season 2. Once again, apologies for the sound quality. The USB port on my computer is kind of screwing up, and while I'm using OBS, I'm gonna have to be using my onboard mic for now until I can get a better computer, which may take a while. Anyway, so my belief is that Season 2 was a drastic improvement over Season 1, so it'll be interesting to see if that holds up in the tier list. First of all, put the last episode of Season 1 on here by mistake, so whoops. So, let's start with the actual first episode of Season 2. Episode 33, The Next Sunrise. A solid start to the episode. Not much dramatic happens, but there's a good feel of openness and optimism to this opening, so the opening feels open, really. But I think that gets it a solid C tier. And already there's an improvement. First episode of Season 2 is C tier, whereas the first episode of Season 1 was only a D tier. Now, Unknown Seas, I actually feel gets an A tier. There's a lot of solid character development in that episode. We get Amber really starting to grow into herself. We get a lot of nice interactions between her and her goddess Tamara. And as uncomfortable as it is in hindsight, the shipping moments between Jaminia and Cross were actually kind of nice. Even it was funny to laugh at Cross for his "it reminds me of your eyes" gag. Now, speaking of an uncontroversially A tier, Storm Showdown. Kraken Battle is still one of the most memorable fights this series has had. The Warm Welcome. We first get introduced to the Fire Elves. It's interesting stuff. What I think puts it in B tier over C tier is the moment of Rose's nightmare with the Warden. While it's unfortunate that Sweetie couldn't actually be there to have a character react to it, the fact still is, it's again one of the Warden nightmares have always been a great moment, and this is one of Josh's best, I feel. The First Trial. Debated on this one, but I'd say the first trial is another B tier. It's certainly a fun episode. The dragon fight with Owen and Amber was very entertaining. The cross battle was pretty good too, but it's not quite as epic as some of the A tier stuff. The Three Queens, on the other hand, I mean, face it, it's got the Jalaram stealth section. That by itself puts it in A tier. But even aside from that, you have two great hard choice moments with both Rose and Faith Thurin. Even if the Rose one turns out to be a false crucible later, it's still a tense moment where you think Rose might actually be willing to shoot herself. Well, she was willing to shoot herself. Good thing is she didn't actually have to. And of course, that twist at the end, which is pretty much one of the biggest game changers at the time. In fact, at that point in time, it was the biggest game changer. Yes, Jaminia died, but she got resurrected, and we didn't realize the full implications of that until, the end of Season 2. But Simula being found, crucified, that was a big moment. Alright. The New Friend, again, continues the thing of nothing's the same anymore, and it's definitely a new element. Not quite as big and dramatic as the A tiers, but I think it still deserves a solid B tier. Wizard's Tower, one of the best dungeon crawling sessions this game has ever had. It's still not a great session because, again, the dungeon crawling just isn't my thing. But you've got some good character interactions between Simula and Jaminia. You've got, obviously, the context of this being Amber's home, and the traps are honestly pretty clever. Plus, that whole Shadow Walk thing still has me laughing every time I see it. Just the hearing Josh's frustration. Hey, I found the spell. He got it, and he gets the wrong spell. I laugh at how you can hear the facepalm in that moment. So yeah, one of the best dungeon crawling sessions. Puts it up into C tier. The Firestorm Clash. It's still a C tier. You know, the fight with the elementals was fun, but not much but there wasn't really much beyond that. Way Forward, I think, gets a B tier. One, because you've got that adorable Cookie Monster bit with Amber and, you know, the message from her father, and also 6 words. Son of a basket-eating bulldog. That's going in the Hall of Fame, Bliss. Good job. Fractured Hole. Now, unfortunately, this one is what starts what I believe is the dark age of Brony D&D. That being said, Fractured Hole by itself is still not is actually still pretty good. You've got a very, very nice moment with Faye being pretty much the big sister to Amber, which I loved. You've got the drama of them being split up, and there's some genuine mystery, even though it, again, goes into dungeon crawling later on, which, unfortunately, Desert Tomb and Dead Throne both get D tier. Again, the whole dungeon crawl, really not my thing, and, well, what was I going to say? The whole mummy thing, I'm sure it'll be important later, but for now, you know, Josh put together that session kind of last second to give Group A something to do, and, well, it kind of shows. Again, I'm sure the mummy thing will become important later. Josh is not going to let something like that just fall to the wayside, but at the time, it very much felt like filler, and unlike the Labyrinth, it didn't have a huge dramatic moment in that very session to elevate it. And unfortunately, we go from bad to worse with the Frozen Palace and the Cold Illusion, which are our first F tiers. Unfortunately for me, those sessions were they were frustrating and they were not fun to watch. And it's honestly no one's fault. It's just the circumstances ended up being that this was not only was this a dungeon crawl session, which you know I'm not a fan of, but it was a very puzzle-heavy session with the group of people who are much better at role-playing than they are at puzzles. And again, I'm not putting the blame on them because it was not a session that was playing to their strengths. And I'm not putting the blame on Josh because when he designed that session, he thought he was going to have a lot more other players and players who do a lot better at the puzzle stuff, who are more suited to that. But unfortunately, the way the dice fell and the way the schedules landed, you know, he couldn't, that just ended up not being a possibility. Thawing Winter. We have the fight with the, the Frostwind Variety, which wasn't quite memorable, but of course, at the end of that, you know, Amber meets Varag, and that's a nice moment. Still not the best session, but I think it earns its C tier. Up next, Nature's Rage. I don't want to debate between C and B tier, but what puts up into B tier for me is just the mystery and tension that the episode has. You know, the backstory, the idea of what's going on here, just a strong atmosphere. Up next, The Dark Shepherd, and some great character development for Rose as she kind of encounters, I'm not sure Dark Mirror's the right aspect, but still, actually, yeah, she kind of encounters a dark mirror to herself. A druid who takes some of the stuff she said before and puts it to a very dark extreme. We also get to see a lot more of Rose's character, come to understand her better. And I'd say that puts it into B tier. The Alpha Predator is another B tier session. Now here's the thing. From Nature's Rage onward, that to me is the end of the Dark Age, and starts what I honestly see as the golden age of Bernie D&D. At least for season 2, and I'll see how well it keeps up in season 3. But the thing is, Nature's Rage onward, there was no bad session. Now, I understand that for the fan base viewing it, a lot of those sessions up until episode about 66 were difficult to enjoy at the time due to the toon drama and some bitch deciding to flood the comments with as much hatred and vitriol as they possibly could, because they still couldn't get over one of their friends deciding, hey, I'm not going to put up with your abuse anymore. But when you actually go back and watch the sessions, you start to realize that the sessions themselves are fantastic. The episodes themselves are consistently good. And I think that's going to be reflected in how these are tiered. Up next, we have the Mind Games, and sadly, that's going to be the last remnants of the Dark Ages with another D tier, because you've still got a lot of that puzzling with a group that's just not really suited to it. But at the same time, it doesn't last the full session, and once you're out of it, you get some great moments with you get some great character development moments with Amber, her father, Ivan. I think that was the episode that had the dad talk with Ivan, and I think it was also the episode that started Cross's heel turn, which not only is that cathartic in hindsight, does that end up becoming cathartic in hindsight, but look, credit where it's due, it was well performed. Up next, we have The Lovers' Union, and that gets an A tier just for sheer adorableness. Speaking of which, the one right after, The One Fesh, gets an A tier just for sheer what the fuckeriness. There we go. The party, yeah, seriously. Josh going Full Metal Alchemist on everyone. Oh, that was brilliant, and it was evil, and I love you, mate. Anyway, the party reunited. Some decent character development. It's nice to see everyone together. I give that a C tier. The Future Promise. Now, this is a tricky one. First of all, the moment with Faith Thurin confessing her fears to Jalen, that alone would get into at least a B tier. Then you've also got a lot of the stuff centered around Cross. Now, it's tricky because, on the one hand, I enjoyed it. On the other hand, it feels wrong to give credit to a scene that's so heavily focused on Toon's character. But for the sake of intellectual honesty, I have to ask myself, were it not for all the horrible things he had done, if this session were just alone in a vacuum, if we could judge the session by itself, where would I rate it? And I give that session an A tier. Now, the Floating City is a definite A tier. That was a huge, dramatic, and I might be repeating myself, but screw it, it's true, game-changing moment for the entire series. The Primeval Pact and just all the ramifications that come from that. It was huge. Give me a second, ladies and gentlemen. I'm getting a sudden call. Bear with me. Hey, mate. Could you mind if I call you back in just a few minutes? I'm recording Season 2's tier list. Hey, sorry. Mind if I get back to you in just a few minutes? I'm recording Season 2's tier list. Sorry about that, everyone. So, I hope that didn't take too long from your end. So, up next, The Hard Alliance. I mean, decent drama. I put that up into C tier. Looking like the first one looked like a stepdad. This one looks more like a gun with a really wide barrel. The Black Dagger. And here we get introduced to my character, Ravus Arcanen. And considering this is the episode we finally meet my grand creation, it deserves nothing less than a solid F tier. Fuck that guy. Nah, I'm kidding. It also, besides, the episode also introduces Rain, who is adorable, and you've also got this setup for Zhao having to choose whether or not to kill Cross, and for me, that puts into B tier. Now, the dead. I believe that one's the Dead Heart. I put that into C tier. You got some issues with the whole dungeon crawl thing again, but it's one of the better dungeon crawls. And again, you've got the drama, the extra context of them going to try to save Faye's mother from her father. So again, great personal stakes. There was a bit earlier on that adds to the moment, and just again, one of the better dungeon crawl sessions. And again, this is what I mean by, Golden Age. Even the dungeon crawl sessions are greatly improved. Soul Revealed, putting that in a B tier. The fight with Imo wasn't the best, wasn't the most memorable, honestly. Though I do remember it had been some interesting gimmicks to it. But I love the moment at the end where Faye finally realizes that her character development was played off, and she really has paid off, and she really has become a better, stronger person. The Past Reconciled. I'm putting that into A tier. Not only do you have that very nice talk between Faither, not only do you have Ima's funeral, which is, again, great moment for Faye's character, and you also have that great moment between Faither and her god, and you have that fantastically well-performed breakdown regarding Amber. Speaking of which, that streak continues in the Assassin's Duty, part 63, and again, honestly, Amber might for me be one of the most Bliss might be one of the most underrated performers in the group, because I feel we don't talk about Bliss's role-playing as much, but in moments like this, and something we'll be seeing later on in Season 3, she is a fantastic actor. And of course, you have, Zhao having that hard choice and the drama of that. And of course, Jaminia giving that speech to Cross, which is, on my money, it always feels like it should have happened at the end of 65 before Cross actually left, because, again, it was I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it's just a great, solid moment of character development and role-playing. The Cursed Child is an S tier. There is no doubt in my mind. There is no bones about it. It gets a solid S tier. Now, maybe I'm a bit biased because I edited that one, but even then, even without my editing, everything came together. You have the reveal regarding... You have that reveal regarding Litamara and Montelo, the much bigger reveal regarding Vorgrin Vineblight, the huge the battle against the dwarves, the return of the Balor in one of the most dramatic ways you could do it. You have Owen kind of redeeming himself in a way from his attitude when he finally chooses to take a stand for other people, and you have the party also redeeming themselves for their actions in the labyrinth, because as was noted by Glazier and also a friend of mine watching the series, back in the labyrinth they could have saved Jaminia if they'd done something to distract the Balor, but they all froze up and did nothing, and that's why Jaminia died. Here, though, they all realize we can't just run away. We can't just panic. people's lives are in danger. We need to step up to the plate, and Jesus fuck monkeys, they do. Sorry about the blasphemy, it kind of slipped out. Mischief. Now, the mischief plan. Continuation of that fight, and that great banishment spell moment. It doesn't have quite as it doesn't. Now, the only reason it's not on A tier is because the S tier one is just a step above that. Like, Cursed Child is honestly in the running for being one of, if not the best episode in the entire series. That episode had everything firing on all cylinders. Still, great Mischief Plan, fantastic episode. And the Kingdom Assault. Solid episode. I give it a solid episode. I give it a C tier. Secret Attack gets a B tier, if only just for that great moment of Jaminia, revealing who she really is. And the dramatic speech there. I had so much fun writing that. Joss did a fantastic job of delivering it. The puzzle piece, another B tier, I'd say. Technically dungeon crawling, but let's focus on you do not detect any traps in the immediate vicinity, and more on the mystery slowly being revealed of what's actually been going on with Simula and the Warden. And we get that followed up in The Dead Hope. First of all, we have the final battle of the Warden, which was obviously a great cathartic moment. Huge tension with Jalaram dies, and of course, a massive plot twist at the end, and holy shit, that cliffhanger. And in the Demon War, we get introduced to Asmodeus, and we get to see more of what he's about, and we have that fantastically badass scene with, and holy crap, I'm nearly running out of space in the A tier. Yeah, we have that fantastically badass scene with the demigod power, and of course, Simula's breakdown, which again, fantastically written and wonderfully well performed by Josh. And finally, the Season 2 finale, and that, again, solid A tier. We conclude the battle against Simula. There's some great heartwarming moments in shipping, and of course, that brilliant cliffhanger. And yeah, comparing Season 2 to Season 1, you can see Season 2 is far more top-loaded. I mean, just look how many A-tier episodes were into Season 2. Yes, yeah, had a moment of weakness there with, the two F tiers, Season 1 didn't really have any bad episodes, but overall, Season 2 just knocked it out of the park. Definitely be interesting to see how Season 3 stacks up in comparison. That said, thank you all for listening. I will see you later on.